Good morning, friends. Great to speak to you this Sunday morning. How are you doing? I'm covering this session is about the integrated management systems. I've been asked by folks to, work on this. So that's why I have made an effort to give a presentation overview of the three management systems. As you know, the ISO 9001 has undergone a review in 2015, and also the ISO 14001 environmental management systems at the same year, and the OSHA's 18001, which is existing for more than about 15-18 years, is now undergoing a new change to become ISO 45001. The standard should have been out in 2016, but for various reasons has got delayed due to voting in the International Organization for Standardization, and is expected to appear in 2017. So what I'm going to do in this maybe an hour's video, because there are about 45 slides, to cover the overview of the three standards, how all the standards are now approaching a convergence, so that each standard is has its unique features, but still it's a very overview is the same, so that you can integrate it together and have an integrated management systems combining quality, environment, health, safety, along with even ISO, data security, and business continuity. So that's where the convergence will happen, to have a one manual, one system, one protocol, one documentation for an integrated system. So my presentation would follow this, and I am thankful to you for having listened to this. Please feel free to give me your comments. I think inputs are the key. Based on your inputs only, I would be able to give out what you require, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and God bless. Good morning, friends. Great to do this session on convergence of the new standards of ISOs. I would take about 60 minutes, I guess. There are about 40-45 slides, and I'll try to do it as fast as possible, but this covers three standards and a lot of information to be given away. So it can go up to 60 minutes, but I'll try to do it as soon as I can. So the topic today, as I said, is the new standards of ISO 9001, the 14001, which were released in 2015. So the companies have about 3 years to migrate to the new standard. September 2018 is the drop dead date by which you should have migrated. So we are looking at about another 18 months to work that. So beyond that, the old certifications won't be valid. And ISO 45001, which will replace OSHA's 18001, is expected next year. It should have come this year, but the voting and other aspects are happening, and we expect hopefully by the end of this year for the standards to come, and 3 years from there on, the ISO would give time to move from OSHA's 18001. So that's the kind of a quick background. So if you see the where the standards were and why these things are happening as we go forward, I remember 1992 I did the ISO 1994, 4 certifications were happening, and we were working on it as a implementation, and it was more and more of documentation, only procedures, so much so that the whole procedural or the documentation part simply broke the system. So that's where the maturity happened around 2000, 2008, and today the standards, as you would see, is based more and more towards risk-based approach, so which we will see in the slides going forward. So that's how the metamorphosis happens. 14001 evolution, so I recollect doing the ISO 14001 in 1998. We were in a very environmental sensitive place, and what better way to prove to the community that we embrace the management systems. And so I think we were the 20th or the 25th company in India to have certified, and there were a lot of aspects that gone into it. So the aspects, impacts, and the legal requirements, which prove to the community that we mean business. So, and that's where again the revisions happened in 2004, and now the 2015 standards have come, which we will go through. 45,001 straightforward, coming up next, this year end or next year, and so we'll replace OSHA's 18,001. OSHA's 18,001 had been for about 17 years. So, as I said in my introductory video, so this is expected. And why, you may wonder why these revisions happen. Customer needs are always changing. I mean, customers are getting more and more smart, more and more intelligent, more and more information. So they are asking information to which organization needs to subscribe, and so that's where these kind of standards would help you to align to their requirements. And also the integrated approach. So today systems all have to have a integrated what you call as an overlap to business enablers, and also work around various other systems that are in place, financial management system, human resource systems, all that, so that a system has to have a common approach towards them, so that everything acts in a very cohesive way. The operating environments are really changing. I mean, today more and more aspects have come in. What didn't exist 10 years back today is a norm. So for example, like outsourcing or various knowledge based industries. So everywhere the bottom line approach has to happen. So this is where these kind of standards would help. And the revisions were based on whatever you do it for 10 years, so that things go without a change, and then you can kind of have an alignment post 10 years. So presently it was around 3 to 5 years. So these standards are now aligned so that for the next 10 years things don't fall apart, or there is no need to revise or do big about it. Right, as I said before, revisions have business and industry have changed. Broader interest today, everywhere, every industry, every sector, every function, there are alignment to management systems. The plan, do, check, act, and reviews, continuous improvements, and business cycles. So that's where these standards have to have a maturity path and work towards, so that's where the revisions can help and align to one another. And that's where, I mean, if you see, you may think other standards are already moving. The 26,001, the social accountability standards, and 22,001, the food safety standards, are already again doing the revisions, and we expect them to be like more or less like the same 9,000, 14,000 and 45,001, so that it's more and more easy to align and integrate and have one management system. So that's what is the approach looking like, more and more a common structure. So as you will see in the slides further, these are the 10 kind of common norms over which the whole standards are built. So they form the foundation or the basis or infrastructure over which the operating systems would happen. So most of it you may be familiar, and what has newly come, which we will go through, is the context of organization, the leadership. Planning has gone into a lot of details, and you need to really work around from strategy. That's what I had covered in my previous sessions, how planning has to happen with a strategic focus. We will see it again. Performance evaluations and improvement. And the main thing that has also happened in this every standard of ISO is today it's all about preventive action is no longer a norm. I mean, the whole ISO standards are put in place to make sure that preventive actions become by default, so that there is no longer corrective and preventive actions. It's only corrective actions you do when there are some situations. So preventive action is the norms of these standards. So that's where, so when all those 10 elements are the same and have a continuous approach, so this is where the integration becomes very, very easy. I mean, so this is what, if you see any standards, what is it? It involves management, it involves personals, it involves documentation, and it has a process, input, process, outputs. And so as you see in the top right, this can be integrated to everything. I mean, energy, environment, quality. So it makes it happen, and you can have an integrated management systems with as what do you call as common documentation, fewer things that stand out outside the system. And the drivers, again, if you see for all standards, is here I have taken 9001. Customer focus is critical, objectives, process and resources. Enablers are the continual improvement and data-based analytics, as I said in my previous sessions also. Now today, data. I mean, as I said, if you want to change decisions, go to leaders with data. Otherwise, leaders being their bosses, their opinion will prevail. So data-based analytics with good softwares can help you, be it quality or safety or environment or energy or whatever. So that's where it happens, and then it leads to customer satisfaction, which is what ultimately business is there for. So that's the overarching view of a convergence, and by aligning everything to those kind of requirements, it will be very easy to have one integrated system. I mean, as I said before, with the new things coming, all management systems can be done in one manual, one documentation, and try to approach it with I see that 80% of the documentation requirements could be common and can be audited simultaneously. And of course the new requirements may make some divergence, but from an auditing agency perspective, they will also see how best they can value add to their customers. This is what the last picture shows, integrated management systems of safety, quality, environment and energy. I mean, we have done this. I mean, in one of my assignments, I could do this in a European country where we aligned all the 4 systems and worked out a common approach to quality, environment, safety and energy. And so with the common manual, common objectives, how to work the documentation. So, and then the sites were certified for all the 4 standards through a single approach. So it's possible, it can be easily done. More so now with these standards, I see it's a straightforward issue. What I did was about 6 years back. So even then we could align. So this is what convergence of all management systems, if you see, to work on an integrated approach. Very straightforward: plan, develop, review, implement, audit, improve. And this is true for any system. So that's where you put quality, or you put safety, you put environment, you put energy, you put social accountability, you put food safety, whatever. I mean, you can medical devices. So all those things can really fit in this patterns. Work around monitoring and continuous improvements, and work the risk-based approach. That's where business threats, business continuity, whatever, and then you work. So you are able to really align and take the management systems forward. So this is where the new standards are. I mean, that's what I keep saying to folks. If I give you all 3 standards print out and remove the word quality, safety and environment, and give 3 copies to you, 99% you can't be saying which standard is which, because the you will see in the slides. I mean, the what do you call, the language, the structure, the approach is almost all same. So you would appreciate that. That's where the integrated approach to have one system will go a long way. So what are the main changes in these 3 standards, to summarize in a document? High level structure, Annexure SL they call it. This is where place more emphasis on the actions to be done. Risk based thinking, so that everything has become risk based: safety risk, financial risk, quality risk, business risk, portfolio risk, location risk, any other risk. I mean, anything that can go into the risk, you need to have a approach, and then work the mitigation plans and align them to your business strategy, planning, objectives, targets, programs and other things. And fewer prescribed requirements. I mean, they are nothing. I mean, if you see 9001 of 1992, everything was like said. I mean, you move an inch, it's a non-conformance, whereas today it's very open and allows you to do the way you want to structure it. You are given an open canvas to draw what you want, but the end result is customer satisfaction, business improvements, and aligning to business values. Less emphasis on documents. That's where it has become. Even video evidence is good enough. I mean, so that's where no formal aspects is required. You can use it as long as you are able to show the objective that you have done. It's good enough. Applicability for services today, when you remember 9000 was more manufacturing focused in the 90s. Today it's moved to various other industries, knowledge industry, various. So today these standards can fit into any aspect, any kind of industry, and work for the requirements based on those 10 clauses that exist. So it requires the context of the organization, as you said. So it extends to QMS, EMS, OSHA's systems, energy systems. So that's where it will be. Context of organization is very clear. We will see it in the slide. Increased leadership requirements. I mean, the concept of MR is gone. No longer everybody is today now an MR. So otherwise, usually what will happen, there will be a scapegoat in many companies where MR has to do it, and people will just point a finger at him, and if the audit goes bad, MR is taken to task. Whereas no longer the case, and leadership is going to play a key role. I mean, we are now seeing that when you do audits, we will see how much the leadership involvement engagement has happened, how much he has contributed, what is his role and responsibilities to strengthen the system. So in fact, some of the indirect guideline is, if the site CEO or the company CEO is only when available, arrange the audits that day, so that their visible presence is available as far as top leadership. So a lot of focus has gone into leadership, so that the strength of the system is based on leadership. I mean, it's very straightforward. Results focus to customer satisfaction. So ultimately you need to do business for what customer wants, and that needs to align to your objectives, planning, strategy, some kind of accommodation and alignment to their requirements. So and work around that. What is new? It's a risk-based approach, as I said. So we will see it. Risk to control, risk identification, and risk mitigation through these standards and operations and processes are the core element that will lead to business improvements. That's all. So it is working on standard text, as I said. Any management systems can be now aligned to this and have one common documentation or requirements. Value for organizations and customers. So today no longer it's a sacred paper that hangs on the wall saying I am ISO certified. There will be a lot of aspects that will be looked in, and what value add it has created. So auditors also can play a huge role in imbibing their knowledge, what they have seen, and can pass it on to customers, so that the audit process is going to be very value add, and that's where a good auditing agency or an auditor can play a part to make value add to company through that process and use it. So auditor's discretion is phenomenal. Service based organization, so anybody can do it, as I said. Interested parties, all the 4-5 standards focus on customers, stakeholders, and interested parties. So how the structure has been reorganized, context of organizations. So you will have to look at it beyond your fence to see what impact it has on your business. Interested parties, scope, suppliers, customers, stakeholders, neighbors, opinion makers, competitors. So everything has to be seen from that context, and new entrants. The very good thing to look at it is Michael Porter's 5 elements of strategy. So these are all the things that you need to see it and work around that. Leadership, I talked about it. So lot of focus and emphasis on leadership in terms of policy, roles, responsibilities and authorities. So that's where we will when systems are designed, it will look for roles and responsibilities, who will do what, how, when, what is that how the achievements are done, how they are held accountable, how it is linked to rewards and recognition systems, what kind of authority they have. So all those things are to be detail worked out and make system as a smooth happening. Planning, it always existed, but it was not that you can't work without a plan. But then today these standards are very explicit in terms of safety or environment or quality. You need to really work at the risks, what are the threats, the SWOT analysis or we call, and arising out of the SWOT analysis, that's what I covered in my previous presentations on the EHS nuts and bolts, where which I have uploaded in YouTube. You can go and see how you need to have a 5-year vision in terms of political, economical, social, technological threats to your aspects, impact on your business in terms of various functions, be it quality or safety or environment, and how have a strategic alignment that fits into your business, and then work the objectives and targets out of it, say for 5 years, and then 1 year through annual operating plans, and that turns into budgets. That's where the leadership aspect would cover. And then how these things would work, how do you make those strategies turn into a single focus to achieve the results. Support, seventh element, which is resources, human resources, financial resources, technical resources, competence, skills, knowledge. How will you make sure that you are ahead of the curve or be in the game? How will you do communications? How will you do trainings? How will you have a documented information? How that will happen so that the system works smoothly. So these are all the structure that is reorganized. Operations, the very purpose for which you exist in business. So I don't want to get into those details. I mean, it works around on services, non-conforming goods. How will you have programs to identify defects? It could be in safety, it could be incidents, near misses, accidents, in environment, leaks, spills. So everywhere you need to cover it and then have a plan in place, and should have been thought about it through your risk-based approach. Performance evaluations through monitoring and measurements, analysis, internal audits, and of course management review, and then improvements. So ultimately you are here in this game for improving the management system. So how will you take as the cycle ends, new targets, new objectives, new programs, new focus, and business also evolves. That's what I keep seeing. 3 years is a lot of time. Sometimes in 3 years companies move whichever way, either too good or too bad, or so the new objectives and targets, focus, new plate, new site would have come, new business would have come, new facility would have come, new core areas would have come. So divergence happen. So it's really have to align them into your business operating plans and work the improvements. Targets can improve. You can, if we had say 0.1% defects, how can you go to 0.005 defects? So that's where these improvements can really work around it, and that's why the management systems really make you in a continuous loop. You can't get out of it. You are, in a sense, it's like a whirlpool. You are in it, you can never come out if you are into the management systems. That's under the kind of plans, programs, procedures, protocols, systems, process you put in place, make you go through this and get a lot of value add to business, and get to know the improvements. So the next three slides will cover, if you see what I have done is I put these 3 standards, how it looks, what are all the requirements that have gone into the standards. This is where it is. The labeling is the same, the requirements are same. Absolutely it are all same. The wording to wordings, some standards may ask a little more, but it's very what do you call, broad and generous, but you need to address it and work around these aspects. So, risks and opportunities in terms of planning, very essential to focus it from a strategic perspective, and then bolt it down to annual short-term requirements. Leadership, new one, as I said, it has come, need to work around that. In terms of support, if you had done ISO 14,000 and OSHA 18,000, you may not be feeling much about it. So it's all were there, and but in terms of 9,000, this is what it prescribes: infrastructure, all that. So but it's good. What I would suggest is, and what we do is, we take the best out of each standard and then extend it to other standards. So that way, you can do beyond the standard asks. No one is going to say don't do more. So you can see the focus from the other standards and use it to even the other requirements, and embrace it, so that the alignment is very, very straightforward. So operations, work around that, in terms of data, design. That's what design, you may think design is not there in safety, but a very good design, project design, you can implement and work around it. So it's all in the EHS folks' mind to interpret the standards and work. Sometimes people crib about, I don't have this, I don't have that, but it's all how you apply what you get in terms of standards and codes, and work around that. As I posted in my blog, based out of this Ahmedabad accident, you really can't wait for legal requirements to come. They will never come. It's up to you to search the codes and work around this. Here you see today, as a safety professional, you can take the design aspect and say, I want to emphasize the design, and go even before the what do you call, the thing is in drawings. So if you can work around that, that's where will add a value add, and you are able to eliminate surprises through a good design and good risk-based approach, and contribute to business. Right. The last slide on this, performance evaluations, monitoring measurements. You are so good to have a regulatory calendar, monitoring calendar, work around frequencies, so that you are able to track it. See, the idea of this management system, what it happens is, it makes you focus on other things. It becomes routine, a mundane, non-sexy aspect. So sometimes it will look like, it's no big deal. That's how this should be. A good management is all about things making mundane, and anybody can do it. So that's where these systems help you go achieve that, and you will be able to focus bigger things, strategic things, as I keep saying. So as you see here, everything is aligned, and the new standards, anything that comes is going to be on this format. So you will be able to work around in terms of documentation systems, that. So if you see the risk, as I said, some of the high risk operations in terms of aerospace or medical devices, ISO 13485, which are very critical, based on the risk based approach. Risk is, we'll see it in the future slides. Governance of risk is, you manage risk, you would have solved 90% of your problem. You are not in for surprises. So that's where risk based approach is taking the norm, and you can really work the improvements. And sometimes risk could be like fitting a zigzag puzzle, so it sometimes can be difficult, but if you see the common thread and work, you are able to sit on top of the risk and work the as an optimum resource allocation and risk mitigation. So this is where it works. The areas the risk can play part is emergencies, management of change. I can't say enough about it. Change is continuously going to happen, so you need to focus it. A risk based approach would be great. manage incidents. Incidents I'm using in a very broad sense: quality incidents, non-conformance, safety incidents, environmental incidents. So you can work around that and work the 5Y 6M analysis. 5Y into man, method, machine, material, Milo method. So, and work the root causes and correct it. People, some of the great organizations manage people risk. The what do you call as the golden handcuff, we call it. People are retained through retention bonus because their services are so good that if they go, it's very difficult to replace them. So flight risk is the biggest thing that need to be seen and worked around it. Succession planning, career path. So those things also fit in terms of structure and responsibility, and so that you are not in for a change or shock. Maintenance, SAMACO we call it, safety and maintenance control procedures. How you link safety and environment to maintenance so that machine downtimes, break times are less. Manage operations, of course, the very essential aspect of being in business, so that make profits and work the bottom line. So all these are encompassed through manage compliance. Laws of the land are critical, and you would work around that. So 4 phases of risk. So this is how the risk portfolios happen. First, you do the risk analysis in terms of hazards. Hazard is a qualitative risk. What I say is hazard is a qualitative aspect of potential harm, and then risk is quantitative. So that's the kind of a big difference. So what you do is you identify the hazard, then quantify it as a risk, work the risk control, work the risk communication. This is very essential. You may do all controls, but people need to be communicated. That's what sometimes I see risk register is works superb, but just hangs in the shelf or in the database. Nobody else has any idea what's happening. So it's very essential you communicate the risks and take it forward so that people know about it, and the risk register forms the basis to everything: your standard operating procedures, your plans, your objectives, and there should be a direct linkage, so that risk assessment is the backbone that needs to the various other requirements of system. So work around that and take the appropriate actions and make the thing current. That's a risk is current. Any change happens, the risk reviews have to happen in terms of people, in terms of big changes, or at the most once in 3 years is what you need to totally review it in terms of the operational risk. I would leave companies to do how you want the risk matrix. Some companies do 2x2, 3x3. We do 5x5, so that we use probability, we use severity, we use frequency, we use the number of people that will be impacted for each activity, and the legislative requirements. If it is central level, federal level, its priority is low, and local level like village or panchayat, the priority is very high. You don't want to be garrowed by the village panchayat. You can't get out of the site. So if you work in environmental sensitive place, you would know how tough it is. So that's where you need to focus on those requirements and give a very high priority to address it. So we will leave the risk mitigation matrix into terms of what you want, but it needs to focus from everything, be it quality, be it production, be it safety, be it environment, or even energy. ISO 50001, energy risk, how will you manage it? So have a complete portfolios and work the risk matrix, accept the protection level, below which you will accept the risk and live, and above which you will work the mitigation plans through hierarchy of control. So that's where the new standards have really made risk a requirement for whatever be the terms of business. So really work the requirements. You can use the way you want. So, and then work what are the outcomes and outputs, and how you are going to address those risks which are above the layers of protection. So I will now focus on individual standards for the next 15-20 minutes. I think we are now into about 35 minutes. so I'll try to finish in about 55 minutes. So the quality management system which I've undergone this change is the I call it triple E: equity, economy, and environment. That's where the bottom line comes in. Three principles to align value to business. We are here for shareholders, we are here for employees, we are here for environment. So that's where the sustainable development that happens on the sweet spot, we call it the three interface. And so the quality management systems have to focus around these aspects and work in an environmental friendly manner of operations. Economic, I mean, you can't work a product which is nice but it's so costly that nobody can afford. So work on that. And social equity, so what the employees and others want. So what has happened in QMS is this: from 8 quality principles it has gone to 7 quality principles. But as I said, this extends to every system. So 9,000 or 14,000, I'm going to spend a little more time on 9,000, but remember, this is what the requirement is to align your systems, environment or safety on this. Customer focus, very essential in terms of what the customer wants. Have some inputs go in what based on how you do. So there has to be some visible evidence to show that customer inputs have been taken. Leadership, I have talked enough about it. Engagement of people, this is where job descriptions, job profile, roles and responsibilities, objectives and targets linked to personal performances and developments, alignment of behaviors expected to deliver results, behavior versus results, how career path is planned, how retentions are going to be happening. So all these aspects have to happen so that the engagement of people, the training, awareness, competence, knowledge, skill, development plans, so everything goes in that, so that the intrinsic aspects of autonomy, mastery and purpose, so that people will be engaged at work is focused. Process approach, very good book by Michael Hammer, very good approach to management. I always talk in terms of design, performance, owners, infrastructure and metrics as the requirements, and the enterprise needs to have leadership, culture, expertise and governance. So Michael Hammer really hammers it in his approach and process approach. When you work around all that, in terms of great design, in terms of great performers or people, owners, that's where the start. Who will own the system? Everything you need to work. I mean, that's where in great organizations, even for individual procedures, individual standards, there will be an owner and a sponsor. So somebody takes the ownership and it evolves around them. That's where the spread of things happen. This is where the new standards are made, the MR redundant. Everybody has to own something and make it happen. Improvement, ultimately we are here for that. So work around that. Evidence-based decision making, as I said, data, analytics. So this is where data gives evidence, and when you have data you are able to achieve a lot of things. Relationship management, I mean, I talked about it in my previous presentations. 70% of results come from relationship, only 10% comes from your what do you call as expertise, and 20% based on your positions. So you being a manager or a director or a vice president, people especially these generations, I mean the new upcoming generations, the what do you call as the millennials, people who are born after 1985, really don't bother. I mean, it's very, you being somebody matters a hood to them. So you need to build relations and you need to have terms of engagement to work around that, and that can only happen through communication, coaching, influence, persuasion, negotiation. Have a dialogue, treat them as your peers. That's why the power distances need to shrink. That's where the cultural aspect comes in. So cultures in which the power distances, where the distance between boss and employee is high, will struggle, whereas if it's not there, this is going to be a smooth sailing. So these are the 7 pillars that work the quality principles as an example, but it works for everything: safety, environment, and aspects. So the context of organizations, it goes beyond your fence. As I said, interested parties, you have to work the stakeholders, suppliers, customers, neighbors, everybody. So you need to have some kind of inputs. I agree. I mean, you can't put everything they say. There would be, in fact, two contrast things. So you need to work around what is optimum and should have made some attempt to fulfill, or you have some good structured process so that you are able to comply with some of it, and maybe it can go into your long term plans. What you can do instantly, take it. What can take time can be even 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but at least the input should have gone, and it should be reviewed periodically. So that's where it aligns into your strategic process, and there will be some lot of value add into that. I mean, so everybody wants you. The idea is everybody wants you to improve and do better. So you get inputs, you do well. Leadership, I talked about it, so I won't spend much time. I mean, leadership is the key. I mean, not that it didn't exist, but now the standards emphasize and looks for objective evidences where leadership people played the role. The CEOs, the CXOs, the site managers, the general managers, how everybody has, it's more influencing down, and how they contributed to what the systems are. Planning, straightforward. I talked about it, risks and opportunities, and this is what I mean. I talked about this in my previous sessions, so I put that because so that how everything has aligned. I mean, we were doing this 20 years back, so that's where ISO. I mean, when you do it at 175 countries, it's very difficult to come to alignment and approval. So that's where OSHA's ISO 45001 is still getting delayed, because there are some disagreements. So naturally it will come, and this is where the risk and the strengths and opportunities, weakness are all aligned to your business, and work around so that they form the basis, and that will be your master document. You need to really work these and transfer from 5 years to 1 year through strategy to planning, and then the resources required in terms of budgets. So this is key. If you ask me couple of slides, this will be one key slide which you need to tune your business requirements and work around that for aligning it to your annual objectives, extending to all domains: suppliers, quality, safety, environment, productivity, inventory, delivery, cost, threats, legislative. So all those aspects need to go in, and there has to be responsible folks who would make that happen. So the structure and responsibility need to be aligned, and resources need to be available, skilled need to be available, and the standard is silent on how it will be done. So you can outsource, no problem about it, but it need to cover in depth. That's where support to make those things happen, in terms of systems. Documented information, so that's where no records, no procedure, just do it and show it. That's it. How you do, nobody will mind. Resources, people, finance, time, all that. Competence. So today this is a big thing. Are you competent to do the job? So there has to be skill based link, competence, so that has to be happening. That's what documented information, straightforward. I spoke about it. Operations, I'm not going to go into details, so work around that and work on the non-conforming products and make sure that corrective actions happen and things don't repeat. One of the key things that will be looked is how much times your non-conformances repeat. So then if it repeats, there is some big gap in the system. So those kind of repeat aspects will be looked in during audits and assessments, right? So extends to everywhere, so any business can align to these standards. Design is still covered, I won't go in depth, but you can work around it. clause 9 performance, straightforward, all existed before. Although I'm touching quality, it's applicable to safety and environment. 45001 is also based on these standards, norms only. So these 10 clauses come overarches all the standards which are expected to come from now on. That's what improvement is key. So non-conformity and corrective action. So the word preventive action has gone, as I said, and improvement. So how you improve? So you need to track. So again, sometimes you ask people what you have improved, they sometimes have no answer. So it's very essential that how the improvement journey looks like. If you look back, where were you? So that's where visible evidences. Where were you in 2015 versus 2020? Picture speaks 1,000 words. So keep photos and show how you improve. So you can work that, and improvements are going to be the key aspect. I will move to 2015 ISO 14001. Again, straight forward. Areas that have increased is life cycle perspective and outsourcing. Today, no longer you can outsource and say I am not responsible. So that's the key aspect. Threats and opportunities need to be seen as like 9000 risk-based approach. So environmental risk like business risk needs to get aligned, and look, I don't want to again talk about it. I think I have talked enough. Life cycle thinking. So the cradle to grave we call it. This is where the product stewardship comes in. Supply chain integration, how reputed, social accountability. So those aspects even extend. So if you are in that kind of business where like say textile or garment, how good is your supply chain? So or in terms of electronic, high-end electronics, Congo minerals, how good is your the blood diamonds and the tin, tungsten, tantalum, all those things from war zones. So these are all the aspects you need to cover it from life cycle. Excuse me. So I'll I'll let you read it so that you can get an idea, right? Life cycle perspective. So work around that. That's why again, if you see from it, the balance scorecard which I have shown in my previous presentations, total non-productive output and how will you work around that so that you can work. Outsourcing I talked. Risk, focus on it. Context of organizations. Same to other aspect is documented information. So policy is a little more clarity in terms of prevention of pollution and compliance with legislation. So you need to have a complete aspect, how will you work around that. Right, interested parties. I think it was happening, but today it goes in depth. These new standards go into depth and look at it in an overview. That's where you do your strategic planning with strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. You will be able to do a good job. Communication, internal communication, external communications, really work around as to how you will make it happen. So let me move to OSHA's 18001, that ISO 45001. Straightforward. You see all the 10 standards. Although the standard is not yet released, we expected this is how it will be, and not much change is happening. Draft standards had come and work around that. Everything is risk based. The other aspect that is key in 45001 is worker participation. No longer risk assessment is done by one guy or two guys. So lot of ownership, drill down, linking it to business risks, how, who owns what will happen. align it with other norms, emphasis on top management, as I said before, uh, continual improvement, how you made improvements, what was the risk before, how much you have reduced, how the risk portfolios look like, has the risk portfolio shrunk, what was your safety budgets, what is your capital, how the capital plannings happen in terms of safety, design reviews, what was it, how many projects were design reviewed versus as you move through the maturity path. So all these aspects will be looked in, and how even good companies do, what is the risk reduced numbers per dollar spent. Let's say you spend $1,000 and the overall risk portfolio's numbers reduced from 300 to 260, so 40 numbers reduced by dollars. So those kind of improvements will be seen. So lot of opportunities for you to improve your process once you bring in the risk based approach. And can you move from 3x3 matrix to 4x4 matrix or 5x5 matrix? So it's an open canvas. As I said, you can do whatever you want as long as you have resources and knowledge to go and execute it and bring in improvements. This is what I as I told before, risk. I mean, work the risk mitigations, work the plan, link it to business, work the policies, programs, procedures, protocols, and then make continual improvement happens. So ISO 45001 in a slide nutshell is this, you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the top level, and then how it drills down as you go down in terms of each class, right? So I'll let you read it. So competence is key, operation planning, linked to risk, everything, your work instructions, your what do you call as standard operating procedures, link it to checklist, emergency plans, response. So all those aspects go into that operations, evaluations, monitoring, measurements, regulatory calendar, compliance calendar, internal audits through systems, process, programs, essential aspects, linked to management review, and then improvements. Of course, how will we show improvements? So that's the overview. And 45001 we expect it by November 17, hopefully, but you can work around that. I mean, already I am suggesting companies to align it to the other two standards and start working on it. 99.99% the draft standards are last year are same, and even if it's there, it will be more for improvement. So I don't think you would have done something that was in excess. So you can work around that. Right, so I think that concludes my presentation, exactly 55 minutes. I look forward to your valuable feedback. Please post it in the YouTube link which I post, or I have also started my own professional blog which I try to update 2 or 3 times a week. This is the link. You can post comments there, and I also look forward to any topics that you want me to cover. So I'll be more than glad to do it, and I'm really thankful for all the response and encouragements I get. I look forward to posting more topics based on the need. I mean, as I say, it's nice to put a pull system rather than a push system. If you ask, I give it's a pull system, whereas then the aspects work, whereas in a push system it's you may take it or not take it. So feel free to give your inputs. Thank you for your time, and have a great day, and God bless.